Good morning. Sitting in for Mikey Oreta, I'm Robert Tan, and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. The Philippines lands at 50th place out of 139 economies in the 2025 Global Innovation Index. The U.S. Federal Reserve is reducing its own workforce by 10%. And the Justice Department reviews the contract for the construction of the NBI headquarters, this after it found out its contractors are the controversial Discaya couple. Let's take a look at how global financial markets performed overnight. Wall Street closes mixed after the U.S. Federal Reserve cuts interest rates by 25 basis points as expected. Fed Chair Jerome Powell highlights weakness in the job market as a major concern. The central bank signals more rate cuts ahead, projecting 2 additional quarter-point reductions this year as policymakers track labor market conditions.
The stock market's doing more or less what I would have expected. We didn't get the 50 basis point cut, which would have been a shocker. We got exactly what we expected. We were at these similar levels before the Fed announcement. We got a little bit of a spike right after the announcement. We got a sell-off, which is what I would have expected. Buy on rumor, sell on news. Everyone in the entire world knew this 25 basis point cut was coming. It was about a 97% probability.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average gains more than 0.5%. The S&P 500 dips 0.1%. The Nasdaq falls 0.3%. In Europe, markets also ended mixed. London's FTSE and Germany's DAX both edged up 0.1%, while France's CAC 40 slides 0.4%. U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell announces that the Fed is going to reduce workers by 10%. This means employment at the Fed will eventually be at the same level it was more than 10 years ago. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said the Federal Reserve suffers from institutional bloat, but Powell refused to comment on this.
So in terms of reform at the Fed, we just went through a lengthy and I think very successful process of updating our monetary policy framework. I would say there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes around the assets we have in the Federal Reserve Federal Reserve system and at the board. Are they the right size? We're actually going through a 10% headcount reduction through the whole Fed, including the board and all the reserve banks. The employment at the Fed at the end of that will be basically at the same level it was more than 10 years ago.
The Philippines lands at 50th place out of the 139 economies in the 2025 Global Innovation Index. This marks an improvement from 53rd out of 133 economies in 2024 and a recovery from its slide to 59th place in 2022. The country last held 50th spot in 2020 before fluctuating and gradually climbing back. The ranking, published by the World Intellectual Property Organization, also exceeds the Philippine Development Plan target of 52nd place for the year. WIPO notes that the Philippines continues to perform above expectations for its level of development, producing more innovation outputs relative to its inputs. Artificial intelligence could boost global exports of goods and services by nearly 40% by 2040. The World Trade Organization says the impact will depend on how much economies improve their digital infrastructure. The WTO also warns that access to AI remains highly unequal, limiting the ability of many economies, especially lower middle-income countries, to fully participate in AI-driven trade. Incumbent telecommunications companies are expected to step up investments in digital infrastructure. This comes as competition is seen to intensify with the implementation of the Konektadong Pinoy Law. Samuel Jacoba, president of the National Association of Data Protection Officers of the Philippines, says the measure will lower barriers for new entrants and attract more players to the market. To stay competitive, incumbent telcos will need to invest aggressively in 5G, fiber and satellite networks while improving customer service to match standards across Southeast Asia. Congress may reallocate next year's 255.5 billion peso budget for flood control projects to other priority initiatives. Budget Secretary Amena Pangandaman said the government could use a menu of projects proposed by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., instead including education, agriculture, health, and housing. These include new school buildings, farm-to-market roads, and medical assistance programs. Pangandaman downplayed the impact of the reduced budget on economic growth, stating it would be small. The government's infrastructure spending will remain at 1.558 trillion pesos in 2026, accounting for 5.1% of GDP. Meanwhile, contractor Mark Alan Arevalo is under investigation for allegedly building a billion-peso empire through corrupt state contracts. The Anti-Money Laundering Council says his company, Wow grew from a 9 million peso business in 2017 to securing 4.2 billion pesos in projects. He received 6.88 billion pesos from the DPWH over the past 5 years. The AMLC's report flagged massive transactions, including a single 387 million peso deposit and suspicious activities across several banks. Wow maintains 17 bank accounts while Arevalo personally has 11. Wow's bank accounts show 16 billion pesos in inflows versus 12.86 billion pesos in outflows from 2022 to 2025. Arevalo himself is linked to 2.1 billion pesos in deposits and multiple suspicious loans. Over 16,000 complaints on flood control projects have been received through the Sumbong sa Pangulo website and will be forwarded to the new Independent Commission for Infrastructure. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said this involves a total of 16,275 reports. The website was launched in August to help the public report problematic flood control projects inspected by the President. The ICI, headed by retired Supreme Court Justice Andres Reyes Jr., has begun investigating corruption in infrastructure projects from the past 10 years. The commission, created by President Marcos, held its first meeting at the DPWH office in Manila and is setting up its organizational structure. And with interest rates still elevated, investors are weighing whether bonds are back as a safe haven or if equities continue to offer better risk-adjusted returns. We'll also look at how U.S. Fed policy, credit ratings, and the rise of green bonds are shaping opportunities and risks for the Philippines and beyond. And joining us to share her insights is Christina Ulang, Research Head at First Metro Investment Corporation. Good morning, Christina. Welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And let's start with this, Christina. With the interest rates still elevated, how should investors think about bond deals today?
Well, interest rates are going to come down eventually, and it's going to make cash similar to trash. And so shift the money because cash is not going to earn more than where it is now. It's going to be very negative in terms of return. So shift the money, shift your portfolio investments towards the safe haven. You'll see now that there are a lot of investors into gold ETFs, and then of course bonds. Bonds would be the next best thing, second to gold.
So you're saying that bonds are back as a safe haven, and you're also seeing equities and gold. Where else can our new investors, our average working class, put their money instead of saying just putting it in a bank? Because as you say, cash is trash nowadays.
Well, there are a lot of product offerings now. There's also this Pag-ibig savings, which is making like 6% for smaller size investments, savings. I think that's very good for retail investors. And then from time to time, we have retail treasury bonds. And it is really suitable for retail investors because you have like 5,000 peso denomination. And then you can also invest in large cap equities that are bound to increase over time in value. Now is the time for value investing because the PISE is like at 9 times PE. You've got to be patient because the market is not going to rise overnight. It will take months, and then maybe a lot more cuts on the side of the Fed and on the side of the BSP to revive investor sentiment, to revive interest in the equities market, and then attract also foreign participation. That will be the time when your much your savings in the equities market will reap rewards. It's going to be over a 12-month period. It's not going to be overnight, but still equities offer a good opportunity for dividends, especially REITs. REITs are the next best thing again in terms of the asset classes in the PSE is going to come out with new rules on REITs. So there's going to be novelty, and I think it's going to attract investors. Interest rates are going to come down, and REITs have been performing well. So put your money in REITs and then high dividend paying stocks. Be very selective. Go for value in the equities market, and then allocate a greater portion of your money in fixed income because interest rates are going to come down. It's time to lock in FXT in 2023, FXT in 2027, and then mostly in the long end because the short end has come down. The long end is yet to come down. The 10-year is at 5.9 and moving towards 5.7%, 5.75, 5.8. So now is the time to lock in the fixed income market. So if you are the trading type, you can also trade because interest rates are going to come down.
But Christina, how can you change the mindset of the average working class who, let's say, only have savings of, let's say, 5,000, 10,000 pesos, and you're looking at this on a long term and maybe a high of a 6% yield on their investment? Some would say it doesn't really change much if you invest that low. It will only help those who invest 100,000 or more or 1 million in these kinds of investments. How can we change that mindset of how you can still invest lower, even 5,000, 10,000, instead of just putting it in the bank?
Well, you've got to review your lifestyle and your priorities in life and your age. The age is also a big factor because retirees would have a different saving investment behavior than the young ones. So the young ones, if you are in the yuppie bracket, you have just graduated from school and you are young or just got married, maybe you can start saving a portion of your salary because you're going to be all about salary. So you've got to save a portion of your salary, put it in a time deposit or in a fixed income instrument like RTB, and or put it in some large cap stocks when the timing is very correct. Like now, when the large caps are very, very low in terms of their valuation. So you can put a certain portion, like 10%, 25%. You have to have that mindset because in the next how many years, 20 years, 30 years, this will grow and you have to develop the habit of saving. So I think the mindset has to be in focus with regard to a certain portion of the salary because you won't have your salary forever. But for those that are about to retire, they may have already some money bigger than those that are starting now. Then they can put a lot of it in fixed income that in the long term long end of the curve where will give a higher interest savings, interest income. So the preference is for longer time frame like the 10-year, the 15-year, and the 27,
That's a very good
year.
advice to create that habit of not only saving
Saving.
but also investing kahit na pa konti-konti. But
A portion, yes.
it grows in the future. But let's go now to what happened in the House of Representatives yesterday. There's now a new speaker with Representative Faustino Boji D. Now, will this have an effect on the market today?
Well, it's all about credibility. And so the restoration of credibility is really on the table and as far as the Philippine Congress is concerned. And I think that's a very good signal to foreign investors. It will encourage foreign participation because governance really is a key barometer, foreign participation, foreign investment. We have seen Japan and South Korea really improve in terms of return on market equities just because they have overhauled the system and made it very credible to foreign investors in terms of checks and balances and accountability, transparency. So I think this is a very positive step on the part of the Philippine legislature, bringing the country to the better gold standard of accountability, transparency. So I think this is good for investments and for attracting foreign money.
A very good step on a very long journey. Now, Christina, how about the flood control controversy and the way the Marcos administration is handling it? How is the business sector viewing it right now in your observation, and how are the foreign investors seeing that, and also our local investors and new investors here in the Philippines?
Well, in the near term, we have seen protest rallies, and I think the government is very tolerant of all of these expression on the part of the public when it comes to their sentiments about what's happening politically. We may be having now a politically charged environment because we have these issues, and investors are putting a certain political premium on the equities markets. That's why the market cannot recover immediately and rapidly in response to the rate cuts of the BSP and then low inflation that we have, and the Fed cut more recently. It's now a sell on news because there is this added risk coming from the political environment. It's a political risk premium that is really the big change that has happened in the second half. We don't have this in the first half. That's why we were very optimistic when it comes to our equities forecast, like 7,000 level target for the PSA. But we have to recognize that there's been a shift. But we will be in a journey and in a transition going into a better place as far as government infrastructure procurement is concerned. We're not going to be the same. So we are now seeing the lessons of the loopholes in the system where government is trying hard to check on it, plug the loopholes, and then go foolproof when it comes to procurement in 2026. Hopefully, this can be contained very shortly, very rapidly, so that we are able to come back to business as usual. I think that is the most important thing. It's the normalization and the coming to the business as usual, so that with the proper correction of all the loopholes that were found, and all those who are responsible being imposed some social justice. So that, I think, the transition, we are now in the journey, and I think we're going to be reaching that point where the foreign investors are going to recognize that the Philippines is very responsive and very agile, able to evolve right away to correct mistakes of the past. And so we will be like again in the radar, in a bigger way, in the radar of foreign investors. So hopefully the foreigners come in into the stock market next year with the proper fundamentals already in place. Like interest rates are coming down, inflation is coming down, and our peso very stable, 56.95, 56.90. And going into 2026, hopefully we're able to counteract whatever would be the negative fallout of all of these irregularities in our infrastructure spending.
True. It's good to have a very positive outlook on that one. Now, Christina, going back to the bond market, how vulnerable do you think are emerging market bonds like the Philippines to outside forces like the U.S. Fed policy?
Well, the U.S. Fed cutting, which is expected like to happen in all of the successive Fed meetings, like they will have two. The market is pricing in one cut, 25 basis point for each meeting, two more this year, and then five more in next year. So that's going to bring the Fed rate to the neutral rate. So I think that's creating a lot of positive impact, positive backdrop on Philippine currency and Philippine bonds. And I think that comes at a time when the BSP is also cutting rate. It is going to create a lot of leeway and scope for the BSP to cut rates, given that inflation is projected to be like 1.7% this year, very benign. And so we may see the BSP really enabling the economy to be stimulated to the level of like 6% next year. And secondly, the more important thing really is this big positive development, the Philippines being included in the JP Morgan Government Bond Index Emerging Market. I think that's the game changer, because our treasurer, Ms. Almanza, has said that we can easily raise like 100 billion out of this very positive inclusion in that bond index. And we are seeing a greater foreign participation in the local peso sovereign bonds in the long end of the curve, like the 10 and the 20 years, which is really what we needed, long-term money for our long gestating infrastructure project. I think it's very, very nice that the backdrop is very positive for us, our inclusion in that bond index, and it's going to make and even make the local peso bond market more vibrant. I think that's going to create a lot of opportunities for retail investor participation also.
And that would be key to that. And what role do you think credit ratings play in shaping bond investor confidence?
Well, we were earlier expecting a credit rating outlook to positive, currently from stable. Of course, the credit rating agencies are the ones vetting that the Philippine sovereign risk is good. They're the ones giving a stamp on the credit quality of our future bond issuances, where right now we are at a stable rating, and hopefully we're able to get to the positive outlook and eventually graduate from our current triple B plus. And that really rests on our economic growth for next year and our, of course, ability to plug whatever loopholes there are in our infrastructure spending and hopefully graduate to a much better place that would even make us more attractive to foreign participation, both not only in the fixed income market but also in the equities market, the PSA, like improving next year.
Now that you've mentioned that with the positive economic outlook that we're seeing here in our economy, do you see now more for investors not waiting and see, but really now looking at our economy and seeing, yeah, this is maybe the time to invest here?
Yeah, that's a big possibility because we are putting everything in place to make the local capital markets improve from the very shallow level where it is now. The central bank has been successful, and the fixed income market altogether have put this interest rate swap and the repo market. Those were actually the two reasons why we were included in the JP Morgan in this emerging market bond index. And I think it's very important that we are able to sustain. I think sustainability is key to all of this. And then, of course, we have this Capital Markets Efficiency Promotion Act. And then the Securities and Exchange Commission coming up with new rules on the real estate investment trust. So all of these lower stock transaction tax. So all of these are coming together to really bring us to a level of much improvement when it comes to capital markets development, the depth and the liquidity of the market hopefully will improve going into 2026 and in the medium term. And I think the regulatory environment is really improving. And of course, we have the Maharlika Fund. And I think it's going to be a lot more active going forward in helping to attract foreign investors and stimulate the economy and employment, of course.
Now, if we look at green and sustainable bonds, which are gaining traction, from your observation, are they more hype or real opportunity that can be looked into?
Well, it's actually part of diversification. If a company or a fund wants to diversify, then this is another product they can put their money in based on their values and their mission and their policy goals. So it is a novelty, it is an outlet, an alternative that one fund can tap or an investor can tap in order to uphold his own values and his mission in role in the society, because all of these bonds under the green bonds, they have their sustainability framework and they are operating within that framework. Actually, the Philippines has tapped into these bonds that have sustainability framework in order to finance our infrastructure projects. It's really nothing new for us. We have done it like several times, like 4 times since 2023, and it has been very effective in giving us the liquidity and the funding needed for our infrastructure. And at the same time, committing to our ESG goals and able to contribute to those projects that are really making an impact in terms of our teams, in terms of the climate change team, in terms of the blue bonds also able to connect with nature and all of this commitment towards social, economic, and governance issues and all
Christina,
of the sustainability.
if we look at opportunities for retail investors, are bonds now becoming more accessible, or do you still see barriers that still remain?
I think the digital infrastructure is the one that is really going to improve inclusivity, include the retail investors because accessibility has improved also. We have the GCash, we have all of this e-wallet, we have access to the internet that will enable them to put their money where they want to put it, in what product category, and at the time and scale that they want to do it. So there are no more barriers, I think, as we progress. And now we have Konektadong Pinoy, which is going to reduce the cost of internet and even open internet efficiency, improve internet efficiency to enable access to all of these products at the least cost, to the investing public. So I think we are moving in the right direction in terms of this digital infrastructure.
And when you say now we have greater access to bonds, do you think realistically can this fund large-scale infrastructure in the Philippines without overheating debt levels?
Uh, yeah, overheating only happens when your economy is already at full employment. We are not yet there. We are, in fact, government is actually trying to stimulate the economy. We are growing at as 5.5, 5.4% GDP. We want to be at 6% because that is our historical potential. So there is no overheating here in as far as fundraising is concerned. I think what government needs to focus now would really be the growth in debt. And the kind of mix that is going to be implemented. And it's good that we have this foreign participation, inclusion in this bond index, this global bond index, so that we can have the right mix for our funding. So I think the moving forward, what needs to be done really is to manage debt and our growth. And I think it's already being taken care of by the fact that the BSP is cutting interest rates and putting all together all of these repo market interest rate swaps so that we're able to see better price signaling from the fixed income market, securities market.
And finally, looking ahead, what's the single biggest risk and opportunity you see in the bond market over the next 12 months?
I think credit rating agencies are going to be looking at our growth and the relationship of growth to tax revenues. Because if you have a deep slowdown, then your tax revenues might come down also, and that will affect your budget deficit. I think that is very critical for the government that we are able to improve tax collection efficiency so that we are able to bridge this wide budget gap that we have, which I think it's already like 22% higher than last year, but still within target. But we need to achieve a target. We have a fiscal consolidation program that we are committing to. We need to bring down the deficit to like 4.3% 2028. And we have to grow in order to deliver the taxes and also collect taxes efficiently. But reducing spending is out of the question because we need to spend really on so many social services, economic services. So what needs to be done really, and I think government is already starting. We have a new taxation regime for mining that was just signed last September 5. This enhanced regime, enhanced fiscal regime for large-scale metallic mining. I think that's a very good step, enabling government to participate in the windfall revenues and income of not only of gold miners, but all the miners. But the gold miners are making a lot of money now because gold prices are higher.
Okay, on that note,
I think it's the budget text.
Christina, thank you for joining us this morning, for your insights, and hopefully with the positive economic outlook that we're seeing, we see more Filipinos investing and the foreign investors looking in to start investing here in the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Robert. Bye-bye.
And we'll take a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and narratives that matter most to your bottom line. Welcome back. SM Prime Holdings Leisure Unit is set to turn over 2 residential projects in Tagaytay City. In a disclosure, the listed property developer says SM Leisure Resort Residences will hand over Redstone condominiums by March next year, while Scotts with the rank of first vice president. In its disclosure, the bank says Madrid brings 20 years of experience in audit and banking with expertise in accounting, risk management, financial control, and IT support. She has been with Metro Bank for more than 2 years, serving as deputy head of the controllership group. And now let's check how the PSEI is moving at this hour. The local equity market is trading at 61.98. Majority of the sub-indices are in the red. Decliners currently outnumber advancers at 69 to 67. And so far, value turnover has reached 1.3 billion pesos. In the currencies, the peso opened at 56.97 against the dollar, down from its previous close of 56.89. Several transport officials heed the call of their leader to ride public transportation. On Wednesday, they rode modern jeepneys, and the MRT3 Undersecretary for Railways, Timothy John Batan, and also other officials commuted to Shaw Boulevard before riding the MRT3. They got off the Santolan Annapolis station, and days earlier, Acting Transportation Secretary Giovanni Lopez previously did the same. He has ordered the officials to submit a report with recommendations on how to improve public transportation. Senators asked the Philippine Space Agency to help expose corruption in flood control projects and other issues. Senator Rodante Marcoleta highlighted PhilSA's role in verifying project locations and tracking illegal activities. PhilSA confirmed it can check the accuracy of coordinates reported on the Sumbong sa Pangulo website. Meanwhile, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian asked about PhilSA's multispectral unit for land assessment, or MULA satellite, which can take photos twice daily to spot ghost projects and help fight corruption. The MULA satellite, built by Filipino engineers, can monitor the Philippine island, air, and sea territory around the clock, providing crucial data for government oversight. We'll take a short break. Business 360 will be right back. Faustino Boji D. III was sworn in as the new House Speaker on Wednesday. He vows to clean up the chamber amid the flood control scandal. He also promised budget reforms and more transparency, adding the saying the House will change under his leadership. D was chosen by 253 lawmakers to succeed later Representative Martin Romualdez, who resigned as Speaker.
Patid ko po na marami sa ating mga kababayan ang nasasaktan at nagagalit na dahil sa mga kasalukuyang kaganapan. Naiintindihan ko po kayo. Bilang anak ng lalawigan ng Isabela, alam na alam ko po ang mga pagsubok na dala ng matinding bagyo, ang pagkasira ng mga bahay at buhay tuwing tumataas ang tubig baha. Sa ngalan nila, tinatanggap ko ng buong kababang loob ang hamon ng pagiging Speaker of the House.
D is a 64-year-old veteran politician from the powerful D clan of Isabela, a former 3-term governor and longtime congressman. He has decades of experience in local and national politics and now represents Isabela's 6th district. Mamamayang Liberal Party List Representative Laila De Lima believes President Marcos personally backed Boji D, who earned the Speaker position with 253 votes to take control of the lower chamber amid public outrage over alleged budget irregularities. On BNC's At the Forefront, she said Marcos may have prevailed upon former Speaker Martin Romualdez to step down, describing his position as untenable. De Lima noted these strong political ties to the Marcoses and said his installation could signal a tighter grip on the budget process.
Right now, ang tingin ko dyan, si PBBM na ang nag-take charge.
Siya na ang bumabaston.
Siya na bumabaston. And that's why he had to pick yung fellow Ilocano from the north. And then politically, talaga naman the Ds have been always affiliated with the
From
Marcoses.
Kabataang Barangay.
From Kabataang
KB pa
Barangay
pala yun.
So, choice talaga siya. Ako even if they deny it, I think that's the fact na siya ang choice talaga, personal choice of BBM. So since he is his choice, then kaya na niya. Na he would run the show, he would make sure that this time around, lalo na dyan sa budget process na yan, wala na yung mga ganon na mga unprecedented.
The House Speaker has won the support of some independent lawmakers. On BNC's agenda, Bacolod Representative Albi Benitez explained why Speaker Faustino Boji D has his support and what he hopes for the House with this change in leadership.
Si Kong Duke Frasco at Kong Toby Chanco, nag-abstain po kami nung election ng dating Speaker Martin Romualdez. Ngayon po, bumoto na kami, no? So we are now part of the majority. Congressman Boji D was not part of that 2025 budget or part of the previous administration. Bago po siya. Tapos nakikita po natin na hindi naman siya sangkot sa mga issues na lumalabas ngayon. At ito po, will be given a good chance to prove ourselves na hindi naman lahat talaga ay sangkot sa mga ganito. At marami rin po magagandang proyekto at marami po matitinong mga congressman.
Congressman Benitez also explained that the discussion of former Speaker's Romualdez removal started when President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. questioned the 2025 budget.
Na-discover nga ng ating Pangulo na marami mga goals and substandard project at alam niyo naman, para naging suspect ang Congress sa mga legislators sa mga issues nito, no? So I think it came to this na dapat siguro magbitiw siya sa kanya.
Demands visible results, and Congress is called upon to take active steps to address people's concerns. It also respects the independence of the chamber and acknowledges the contributions of former Speaker Martin Romualdez. The palace is also looking forward to working with Speaker Faustino D, the third, to advance measures that strengthen the economy, ensure basic services, and protect the country's democracy. Navotas Representative Toby Tiangco wants changes in other leadership positions in the House of Representatives.
Kung papakita namin yung suporta kay Speaker Boji, I think that we have to give him
A
the
free hand,
prerogative doon sa pagpili ng deputy speakers. It's not really more important than the change is the prerogative we give him para naman magawa niya yung mga kailangan niyang gawin.
On BNC's On Point, Tiangco said that the replacement of Martin Romualdez as House Speaker was inevitable. He stressed that the House integrity must be protected amid the ongoing flood control scandal.
Kasi ang problema is may missing link na hindi makasagot doon sa mga akusasyon, and that is Saldico, di ba? Hindi mapaliwanag ni Saldico yung mga dapat niyang ipaliwanag. At tapos, since siya yung Committee on Appropriations Chairman ni Speaker Romualdez noon, parang nagkaroon ng command responsibility si Speaker Romualdez doon. Kaya ganun yung nangyari. Kaya kinangailangan ng pagbabago para makita ng tao na seryoso kami na imbestigahan yung talagang punot dulo niyan.
Tiangco suggests to the House Infrastructure Committee to acquire a medical certificate from Congressman Zaldico, currently in the United States for medical treatment. He says if Co's condition isn't life-threatening, the House should compel him to come home and explain his side. But House Majority Leader Sandro Marcos says there will be no changes in the chairmanship of House committees. The younger Marcos explains they are in the middle of budget deliberations, stressing the need to pass the country's most important law, the national budget. He adds that making changes now would be too disruptive. Meanwhile, 2 contractors involved in the construction of the 2.4 billion peso NBI headquarters project in Manila have been identified as the so-called flood control king and queen, Curly and Sara Discaya. With this, NBI Director Jaime Santiago ordered an internal review. Records show 2 contracts, one worth 72.4 million pesos, already marked completed, and another worth 28.3 million pesos, owned by the Discayas, tagged ongoing despite an expired contract.
Imbestigahan namin yung ibang bahay, kami yung bahay namin may problema rin pala. So, I'm not saying na merong merong kalokohan nangyari. But then, imbestigahan namin, ano ba ito? Baka hindi magawa yung building namin, baka kulang-kulang yung substandard yung bakal.
The Department of Justice is now reviewing infrastructure deals involving the couple and may replace the builder for the new NBI facility. Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla confirmed the review. We're taking a short break. Business 360 will be right back. U.S. President Donald Trump hails the eternal bond between the United States and Britain in a toast at a Windsor Castle state banquet. He praises British heritage and shared values as King Charles hosted him during his historic second state visit. Trump arrived in Britain on Wednesday to elaborate welcomes marked by pageantry, tight security, technology investments, and protests. He and First Lady Melania are hosted at the Windsor Castle, the oldest and largest inhabited castle in the world and home to British monarchs for nearly 1,000 years, where they are treated to a carriage procession and a lavish banquet.
We're joined by history and fate, and by love and language, and by transcendent ties of culture, tradition, ancestry, and destiny. We're like 2 notes in one chord, or 2 verses of the same poem, each beautiful on its own, but really meant to be played together. The bond of kinship and identity between America and the United Kingdom is priceless and eternal. It's irreplaceable and unbreakable.
But outside the celebrations, thousands marched through London to protest Trump's visit. The rally was organized by the Stop Trump Coalition and supported by various groups. UN General Assembly President Annalena Baerbock pushes for a 2-state solution to end the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. She made the statement less than a week before the world body hosted 6 days of speeches by nearly 150 heads of state with dozens of more ministers. The war between Israel and Hamas militants in the Gaza region strip approaches 2 years. A humanitarian crisis continues to worsen in the Palestinian enclave.
We have the high-level international conference for the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine and the implementation of the 2-state solutions. This is a chance to address reality that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict cannot be resolved by endless war, continued occupation and terror. The only way to ensure that both Israelis and Palestinians can live in lasting peace, security and dignity is the 2-state solution.
U.S. TV network giant ABC pulls Jimmy Kimmel off the air following his remarks about Charlie Kirk's assassination. The Walt Disney-owned network says it will indefinitely suspend Jimmy Kimmel Live. The late-night host drew criticism from the head of the Federal Communications Commission for suggesting that alleged assassin Tyler Robinson might have been a pro-Trump Republican. The Nexstar Media Group announced it would stop airing the program on its 32 ABC affiliates, citing Kimmel's comments. Nexstar President Andrew Alford says Kimmel's remarks about Kirk's death are offensive and insensitive. And that's it for Business 360. Sitting in for Mikey Oreta, I'm Robert San. Thank you for joining us. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.